Ready to go? Call the meeting to order. Another roll call vote.
Jenner,
Here.
Herder,
Yes.
and Pierce.
Here.
Let the record show that White and Fox are absent.
See, if you looked over the minutes from the previous meeting, we need a motion to approve them.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. You want to read the,
I'm going to read this statement before the opening of the public hearings. The public hearings will be conducted pursuant to the board's rules and procedures as adopted May 26, 1988. We will first hear the report of the planning director on detailed information and observations regarding the request, if not done so in written form prior to the hearing. Next, we will take the testimony of the applicant and his or her witnesses. Upon completion of the applicant's testimonies, the chairman will call upon members of the audience wishing to make a statement concerning the request. Persons in favor of the request shall be heard first, followed by those who oppose it. At any time during the presentation of testimony, the members of the board may interrupt to ask questions or to make comments on what has been said. Upon completion of all testimony, the applicant will be allowed to make a closing statement to the board. Upon the completion of the applicant's closing statement, the board will then hear from the recommendation from the planning director, and upon completion of all discussion, the chairman will entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the request. After the public hearing has been closed, the chairman will entertain a motion for members of the board regarding the disposition of the application. Each speaker addressing this board shall step forward to the podium and state their name and address before proceeding with their testimony or evidence. I would ask that you spell your last name. This board shall not be bound by strict rules of evidence, but does reserve the right to exclude evidence or testimony that it may deem irrelevant, immaterial, incompetent, or unduly repetitious. The chairman will rule on all questions relating to the admissibility of evidence which may be overruled by a majority of the board. The board may grant continuances in case for good cause shown to any interested party who has entered his appearance. The board may at any time request a continuance of a hearing for the purpose of giving further notice, taking further evidence, gathering further information, touring the proposed site, or for such other reasons as the board may find sufficient. In such case, the board shall state the specific reasons for the continuance and set a date, time, and place of when the matter will be continued. All official actions of this board will be made at a public hearing by motion made, seconded, and polling of the membership. If conditions are imposed, such conditions shall be included in the motion or amended thereto. Our final decision will be prepared in writing and will be a part of the public record of this board. Once this board has reached a decision in a case, that decision shall be final. Section 335.18 of the Code of Iowa states, any person or persons jointly or severely aggravated by any decision of the Board of Adjustment under the provisions of Chapter 335 or any taxpayer or any officer, department, board, or bureau of the county may present to the court of record a petition duly verified setting forth that such decision was illegal in whole or in part, specifying the grounds of illegality. Such petition shall be presented to the court within 30 days after the filing of the decision of this office with the board.
okay, we need a motion to go into open public.
Excuse me.
And this is for case number CU 2017-03. Craig and Penny Buckingham, you need a motion?
So move. Open the case.
Second. Motion made second, and we go into the,
You just say all those in favor say
yeah, all
aye.
in favor of this.
Aye.
Motion carried. Our applicants, we got Craig and Penny Buckingham. One you want to start?
I'm Craig Buckingham, Buckingham,
33153, Highway 92. That's in Trainer, 51575. It's my wife Penny, my son-in-law Chad, my son Eric. I guess
Yeah, you want to tell us what your,
we are wanting to take our old barn and make an event center out of it for weddings. For weddings, for family reunions, for Christmas parties, just anything that we can make it work at. Looking at probably 200, 250 people for weddings, much smaller for anything else. Barn is, right now is 64 by 96, and we want to add another 24 feet to it for bathrooms, kitchen, preparation station, utility room, bridal suite for the bride to get dressed, and for the groom to get dressed in. I think Matt said something about 29 events a year was what it was zoned at, I think. I'm thinking I heard that.
No, that was for a different piece of it. When we talked about like when you're dealing with a winery and the special events allowed with a winery.
Okay, so
What
this-
you're doing is different. Is for,
I was just hoping it wasn't 29 because we're gonna completely remodel this barn and it's gonna be more than I could afford to pay for on 29 events a year. I know that.
yeah, the conditional use that you've applied for is for the permit for temporary establishments or for enterprise involving large assemblies of people, which means family parties, weddings, company parties, and birthday parties.
It's not limited to any amount per year then?
No,
No, so there's no limit.
That was one of my, I guess, concerns, is I didn't want to be limited. I mean, I don't intend to have one every night of the week, 365 days, but I don't want to go to 29 and stop, and if I had 35 that I could do, or 40, and I know Con expressed that he was afraid of motorcycles and four-wheelers. I mean, we're not in any way looking for a drag strip. I mean, we're looking for people to pull.
There's no boundary between the property. There originally was a fence there.
wait till you talk to him, he gets it.
Okay. We're gonna have everything catered. We're just gonna furnish the event center. We are gonna be there every second somebody else is there. We're just not gonna say, here's the keys, go down and run it. I mean, we're gonna be there making sure that, everything goes as contracted and, right now, starting out, our family's gonna be the only employees until we get to the point where we need employees, then we will worry about employees. I mean, right now, it's just the case of, we're gonna do it because we're looking at a lot of blue sky. You know, we're hoping that, okay, here goes us. This is what we're hoping that the barn will look like, and this will be what the inside hopefully will look like. Parking will be on the west side. There's about 5 acres up through the draw.
So for relationship to the building, it's
To be on the west side.
on the left, as I'm looking at it? There's the other one.
It'll be out here.
Okay, that
All,
way.
all out here. Yeah, that's facing the west. That's what you'll see coming down the highway, and that's on the west side of the building.
Okay.
And that's just a rendering. I mean, we are gonna have some cement and a driveway close to the door. Explain it with this. Yeah, this is what the property. The parking will be all the way through here, clear up to here. And there's like 5 acres to there. We'll come in off the highway and turn here and go into we won't use our driveway that we've got now. We'll make a new driveway.
So is this the one that's to the south, that the south, that's the
This
building?
is the barn,
Okay.
this one here. We're gonna add this addition on right there. That will be where the bathrooms and everything is. And then this will be a covered patio.
There's a roof line changing there too?
A little bit, this is looking to the west, and we're gonna add this overhang
Uh-huh.
of 10 feet to give us seating underneath that patio, just for seating. I mean, not for permanent seating, but just chairs out there if people want to sit outside.
This upper part of it is already on the building right now,
Well, pardon me?
like where your fingers are right now.
There.
That is already on there?
This part is.
It's already there?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the way the barn actually looks, minus the windows and the doors. We got a door here now and a door here. 2 windows there and those 2 windows, but this window and that door isn't there. And that'll be the way the south side looks. This will be underneath that patio. There'll be 4 or 3 doors going to the south.
So is this you had used it as a barn
Mhm.
all the time for that?
Several thousand herd of cattle went through that thing.
Yeah.
Has it got like a loft in there, you gonna take it out or a second
Right,
level?
it had a loft in it, and we're gonna put it back, years ago, I took it out, but we're actually gonna put it back. It's a 20 by 24 hay loft, basically,
What are you gonna use that for then?
just for, I'm gonna have a sofa and a chair up there, not gonna be,
So like your bridal and your groomsmen areas, those are not gonna be, they're gonna be on the main floor?
everything will be on the main floor, yeah, that's just gonna be just
Something else,
something to look at, something to make it,
Yeah.
give it a little bit
but
more.
you'll be able to see it from the floor,
Mhm.
so you might decorate it or whatever, so people can see or something
Mhm.
like that.
And here's what we added on this with the bridal suite and the women's restroom, the kitchen. We drew in an oven and stuff, but it's not gonna be a prep kitchen. We probably won't have that in there. It's more, we're gonna have people cater it, so they're just gonna come out. They're not gonna make food here particular, they're just gonna serve food out of it.
So people would not be able to rent it and bring their own food in.
Well, they could, yeah, but a wedding, whoever caters it, it's not gonna be a kitchen where they're gonna fix the food. They're gonna bring the food in and then dispense it out here. Yeah, if somebody wants to rent it and they want to use the kitchen, but I don't want them cooking in there because I
Yeah.
don't know what Matt's gonna say about cooking in, I don't know what.
Well, it doesn't come from us, but it does come from the state. There would be a whole nother level of regulation. that would
Yeah,
be
if
set on
we
you.
could, and I don't wanna start jumping through,
But there'll be
cooking.
refrigerators
There'll
and
be
to
a
place
there'll be
to
a
hold the,
refrigerator and freezers.
we have heaters or warmers there too?
Mhm.
Okay.
There'll be a no candle. There won't be any live flame in anything. I mean, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
have, I just don't need the fire potential. I don't need
Sure.
that.
I have a bar already set up.
And we don't know about that either, how we're gonna do that. I
Yeah,
know there'll
like
be,
portable ones you can
Yeah.
move around.
and who's gonna do it, we don't know yet, whether we're gonna apply to do that, or whether we're gonna hire somebody that's got the license. We don't know yet about that.
You aren't planning on having a license for like liquor or alcohol?
Well, we don't know yet what we're gonna do. We have not, I'm assuming everybody's gonna want liquor, or, I know we'll never have liquor, because whiskey doesn't do good for people. Now, wine and a beer may be all right, but I don't want liquor, no time anyway for it, but,
If
We're
you
not
approve, when are you figuring on having it usable?
yesterday. We will get started on it as soon as we can, and hopefully by June, we'll start getting this thing out there on the internet and try to start selling some dates, and hopefully by the middle of June, we can start doing something.
What's your flooring gonna be like?
It'll be cement. This will be a polished cement. Everything will be, there's a 2-foot drop here, just because of the way the barn is designed. So this will be a 2-foot drop. It's gonna be just a clean cement that's polished. And then we'll have a wooden floor here that we put on for the dance floor. It's gonna be in-floor heat, because I want it to be warm to people's feet when they're dancing and stuff.
Just the wood part,
No, it'll all be,
everything?
everything's gonna be in-floor heat, because we want
So
to,
you're gonna you're gonna have to re-pour all
We
the new
gotta
contract
re-pour
and
the
put
whole
the
thing.
piece, so that hot water heat in there?
Is it all cemented up and already, you got the,
there's, this section here is cemented. It was poured back in the 30s, so it's not perfect. So we're actually gonna chop it all out, put in-floor heat on the whole thing. And then we've got 4 air conditioners that will set up in the attic here, forcing air through the main part, so we can run through the summer or the winter.
what do you use for siding on
Steel.
put new siding on them?
We're gonna put a sit insulated roof on it. I wanna keep the original wood, so that when you look up, you see the original wood that's all the way to the top. So we're gonna put insulation on that roof and then put a metal roof on it, metal sides on it.
These are all lighting that you're gonna have to do.
And that's the way it looks inside that barn. I mean, it looks just like, it's got the poles that go clear to the top, and we wanna keep those. We wanna keep that. 'Cause it's 37 feet from the floor to the peak, and we wanna, when you walk in,
People
you
can't
wanna look at,
decorate much from that.
what's that?
I said people won't be able to decorate much from that height.
No, you have to get a ladder.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Good.
Did you see this one? Did you see that one?
You wanna see these maps?
Is there anybody else that's speaking in favor of this? Not opposed to it?
I'm not actually opposed to it. I'm Condon Snaple, and I own the adjoining property around this acreage. And originally, 30 years ago, there was a borderline fence around it that belonged to the acreage. Craig has since taken that out, which I agreed with at the time. But I'd like a property line put back in there. I mean, some physical barrier. So when there's guests at his events, they're not just wandering down a track to the creek on my property. I mean, I was young once, and I remember going to weddings and doing crazy stuff. So that just opens a whole line of problems to me to have that many people there at that time.
How close is your property line to the parking lot?
This is my property line.
This is way up here,
This,
That's his property.
that's Craig Buckingham's. This is my property.
Okay.
I surround it.
So you would like fence, right?
Right along this line.
Just this side. Whose is this? This is not yours. That's
That
yours.
belongs to me too, but there's
I know.
a physical boundary here at Creek,
Oh,
so
okay, all right, so
that's where the original fence was.
how much, how many feet or how long a fence line would that be?
I wouldn't really know how long that would be. It's not, you know. would have no idea how long.
This is where he wants the fence around here.
How far, okay, and your home is
No, my home is not there.
not even there, it's just
I
liability.
just farm the agricultural land around
And
there.
you're just
The other,
concerned about liability of people
Yes.
coming into your lot and getting
and the other
hurt or
question I have is, you know, if I'm out there putting anhydrous ammonia on and one of the guests catches a whiff of the anhydrous, you know, I'd like to be notified when there's a party, I guess. That'd probably be the other event, other thing.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak? Close then?
Yep, you close.
Motion to close the hearing.
Make the motion to close.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay. Matt, you've got some recommendations or something?
I do, our recommendation from the planning department would be to approve the application with the following conditions. This is that the applicant, obtain a necessary commercial building permits to construct the building in accordance with the Pottawattamie County Building Codes. The well servicing the property be approved by the Department of Natural Resources as a public water well. The septic system be installed to code and to size to handle present and future capacities. Parking lot shall be constructed in accordance with Pottawattamie County Code for maximum occupancy of 300 people, which would be 50 stalls gravelled or similarly all-weather surfacing in addition to providing the necessary ADA hard surface parking spaces. No on-street parking would be allowed. All the food vendors would have to possess the appropriate state food vendor licenses. Any alcohol vendors would possess the appropriate state or county licenses, and that the drive for the conditional use shall comply with section 503 of the International Fire Code. And that's based on the findings of fact, which is the subject property is located in a Class A2 district. The zoning ordinance adopted in conjunction with the land use plan stipulates that large assemblies of people is permitted conditional use in the A2 district. The property is approximately 18.65 acres, which is adequate size to accommodate the conditional use request. The existing road system is adequate to accommodate the conditional use request. The conditions specified would reduce any potential adverse or negative impacts on the adjoining properties and the general area of the road.
Any more questions from?
I guess I'm wondering if, I can see their concern about a fence possibly on the edge. Does that concern us at all at any juncture here?
You know, hearing is concern, it could potentially, I could understand. I mean, if
Yeah.
the board wanted to put that condition on there, that a boundary line be established around there to kind of make sure that way, you know, your stray guest doesn't happen to wander out and head down to a creek or something like that, just to keep them in as a condition to it.
Yeah.
I think that condition could be.
I feel like if I was next door to it, I mean, I just know, yeah, there's a lot of 300 people there that, you know, there could be some liability issues, which they don't, you know, need to have to worry about, I guess.
Does there have to be special liability insurance for something like this?
I'm sure.
I'm
Some
sure
kind.
for them.
I got
yeah.
$5 million liability on the business, $2 million on everything that I owned or
Yeah.
whatever I do,
Okay.
so.
It's just like if it's posted or something, here's the line, you know, something's posted or something that people know where the edge is and where, whose liability is it if anything does happen.
I guess if I put a fence up, I don't mind putting a fence up if I can I don't wanna put a barbed wire woven fence up. Now,
No,
if I could put a fancy 3-rail, fence up there or something that's gonna give it a better look. But I don't wanna throw a barbed wire fence in there.
I just wanted some kind of barrier there, so they know that there's a property line there.
And I don't think your condition would have to be as particular to say what specific kind of barrier needs to be established there, just, and that'll be another part along with another permit that they will have to get at some point in time, that,
Put a fence up.
no.
I've been putting fence up for years.
For when they go to if they go to have alcohol out there and serve it, when they go through that permitting process for the alcohol, they do have to designate where the alcohol is going to be served at, and, those areas do have to be contained in by a fence, so.
well, yeah, I would think, and if you're having a wedding, you're gonna have alcohol, so
Mhm.
somebody's gonna want it.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, I would be in favor of adding something like a barrier added to the recommendations of that. I don't know what the rest of you, but I would.
Yeah, I think that sounds, that'd be reasonable for the adjoining property owner to have some sort of, they can agree on some sort of fence type or barrier type or whatever.
Could you make it so that it don't have to be up until I'm ready to open?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess I don't have time.
You don't have to keep anybody out of there until it's open,
Yeah,
so.
well, that's what I do, I mean, I guess I just don't have time today to put a fence up, so I mean, if you give it to me, I mean, before I
No.
open up, I mean,
None of
before you
these,
get final occupancy.
none of these conditions go into effect until you're actually, in use of that conditional use. So that's when all of these conditions come into effect, is the day that the conditional use starts.
Okay.
Does he have to put a sprinkler system throughout this too, to meet the fire,
Not necessarily to meet the fire code, for,
a large assemblage of people? Do you have to put a sprinkler system in for that?
no, not necessarily. You can have, extra exiting lights, other fire suppression activities out there.
Mhm.
It really all boils down to the square footage and what their occupancy rates are. But that'll all come through when he turns in for his permits and it goes through plan review. That's when all of those issues will get taken care of.
Well, it looks like a nice idea, a barn idea. I think it's be pleasant to look at and pleasant to rent out, if you want to get it all done.
Do you have to go out as they're doing it and, okay things as they go, or?
It will get permitted through our office on the building permit side, and we will go out and do the inspections as the construction progresses, and then issue the final certificate of occupancy for it.
Okay. Anything else? Board,
I don't think so.
ready for a motion then, are we?
Ready for a motion?
I would move that we accept the recommendations of the board and with the addition that a barrier be made between the two properties to protect their neighbor. And as long as they comply with all the other things, that's my recommendation.
I would second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. It's approved, right? Anything else, Matt?
I have no other business for the board.
We have a motion, we adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I will second.
We're adjourned. Okay.